Have you ever looked into the eyes of the person you love most, only to see anger staring back at you? Maybe it's yelling, maybe it's aggression, maybe it's words that cut so deep you wonder how you'll ever recover. For me, this only happened during the months my wife Sonia had Capgras syndrome, named after a 1920s French psychiatrist. It's an irrational belief that the person whose face she recognizes as me is an imposter. And in those moments, her confusion sometimes came out as anger and possibly fear. If you've faced anything like that, I want you to know you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not the problem. Hi, I'm Rick Henkin. I've been a full-time caregiver for my wife Sonia for years. Most of the time, Sonia isn't aggressive, but during that 3-month period of Capgras syndrome, I experienced just how painful it can be when anger and aggression are directed at you. And even though it's temporary for me, I know many caregivers live with this reality every day. That's why I want to share not just my experience, but also what I've learned about protecting your heart, managing your emotions, and remembering the truth when dementia turns its anger on you. The first thing I had to remind myself was this: Sonia's anger wasn't really about me. Capgras syndrome made her believe I wasn't who I said I was. Imagine how terrifying that must feel, thinking the person sitting across from you is a stranger pretending to be your husband. When anger or depression shows up in dementia, it's often rooted in fear, confusion, or frustration. That doesn't make it easier to experience, but it does change how we understand it. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's not proof of your failing as a caregiver. It's the disease speaking, not the person you love. That said, it still hurts. I'd love to tell you I brushed it off and stayed calm every time, but I didn't. Sometimes I felt rejected. Other times I felt angry myself. And there were moments I walked away with tears in my eyes. The mistake many caregivers make is thinking they shouldn't feel those things, that if we were strong enough or loving enough, it wouldn't get to us. But stuffing down your feelings only makes them heavier. What helped me was giving myself permission to feel it all without shame, to say, yes, this hurts. Yes, I feel sad. Yes, I feel angry too. That acknowledgement was the first step toward releasing it. One of the most important things I learned was the power of the pause. When Sonia lashed out, my instinct was to react, to defend myself, to argue, to push back. But reacting only escalated things. So I started practicing this simple phrase: pause, breathe, respond, don't react. Sometimes that stepping out of the room for a few minutes helped. Sometimes it meant taking a deep breath and letting the silence do the work. That pause gave me the space to respond with patience instead of pouring gasoline on the fire. Oftentimes I take a 30-minute walk and return to find Sonia crying, wondering where I'd been because she'd forgotten the entire thing. As caregivers, we give so much, but here's the truth: we also have the right to protect our peace. When Sonia was in the middle of a Capgras episode, I learned that it was okay to step back, to not take every word personally, to set boundaries for myself emotionally so I didn't carry the weight of every angry word into the rest of my day. Protecting your boundaries doesn't mean you love less. It means you're preserving your ability to keep showing up with compassion. When Sonia threatened to call the police and ran next door to tell our neighbors about the strange man in her house, the story in my head could have been, she doesn't love me anymore. She hates me. I'm failing as a caregiver. But I had to remind myself that wasn't the truth. The truth was that her brain was sick, that she was scared, that the woman who loves me is still there, even if her words in that moment said otherwise. Changing the story I told myself changed how I felt, and that gave me strength to keep going. Even after the outburst ended, my feelings didn't magically reset, so I created what I call a recovery routine. For me, that meant stepping outside, breathing fresh air, sometimes calling a friend, and writing down what I was grateful for. Those small actions helped me release the sting of the moment, so I didn't drag it into the rest of my caregiving day. If you're facing anger more regularly, I can't recommend this enough. Build a routine that helps you let go, whether it's prayer, journaling, exercise, or something else. It's not selfish, it's survival. The hardest part of Capgras syndrome wasn't the anger. It was the distance it put between us. But I had to keep reminding myself of the bigger picture. I was still Sonia's husband, I was still her caregiver, and beneath the fear and confusion, she was still the woman I love. Holding on to that truth gave me the resilience to push through the hardest moments. So if you're caring for a loved one who sometimes turns their anger on you, I want you to remember this. You are not alone. You are not the problem. And you have the power to protect your peace. By understanding where the anger comes from, allowing yourself to feel, creating a pause before reacting, setting boundaries, reframing the story, and building a recovery routine, you can weather even the most painful storms. For me, Capgras syndrome eventually passed. But the lessons it taught me still matter today, and they might just help you if this is part of your daily caregiving life. Tell me in the comments, have you ever faced anger or aggression from your loved one? How did you handle it? Your story could be the strength to another caregiver today. If you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, or like you're losing yourself in caregiving, you're not alone. That's exactly why I created the Caregiver Mastery System, a step-by-step emotional roadmap to help you manage stress, anger, and burnout so you can care for your loved one without sacrificing yourself in the process. Inside, you'll discover how to say yes to yourself without guilt, reduce overwhelm, and reclaim peace even in the hardest moments. I call this Heaven Island, a place of peace, clarity, and deep acceptance, where you can show up for the one you love without losing who you are. And just so you know, this isn't some time-consuming program. I didn't create it to add more to your plate. I built it to take the weight off your shoulders. The lessons are short, practical, and easy to follow. And if you apply what I teach, even for just a few minutes a day, I guarantee you'll start to feel a real difference in 2 to 3 weeks. Click the link below or visit caregivermasterysystem.com to get started today. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe. I post new caregiver support videos every Monday and Thursday. And if this message spoke to you, use the hashtag Caregiver Mastery so others can find the support they need too. You're not alone. Let's get through this together.